Welcome to High Drama, to the plays Bug Us this time around. Tracy Letts' Bug is the unlikely romance of two lonely strangers. Agnes is hanging out with her BFF RC. They work together. RC brought Peter along on the way to a party. Peter decides to stay with Agnes instead. Agnes's ex-husband Jerry just got out of jail and hightails it to Agnes, which she is none too pleased about. They share a tragedy that destroyed them both. As the romance between Agnes and Peter progresses, RC becomes alarmed at how obsessed they both are that they are being attacked by bugs. RC enlists Dr. Sweet to help out with disastrous results. I saw this in 2004 and I hated it then and I still do. I didn't even know they made a movie out of it. It's totally contrived and I can suspend disbelief so long, but this is so illogical that I find it impossible. If someone is acting buggy, no matter how lonely I am, self-preservation kicks in and I kick this guy to the curb. I don't understand these people's actions or the play. I've known people who have endured a tragedy without going to extreme paranoia. Raid isn't afraid, and I'm afraid I didn't like this at all. But I did admire the commitment of the actors. Unhappy face.
Tracy Letts' Bug returns to Broadway, and I was and I am so excited for the idea of this play. Unfortunately, I'm not as happy in the execution. I will say this: Namir and Carrie did an excellent job as actors to be in such a vulnerable space and going down the depths of psychological trauma. They nailed that well. I think what I felt I was missing was a level of nuanced intimacy that actually is portrayed in the William Friedkin film very well with Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon, that I had to change my expectations with the play to make it palatable, in the sense that with Carrie and Namir, there's a friendship there. There is a camaraderie that suits the play fine, but it isn't as vulnerable as the nuance of a sexual tension and an intimacy that just wasn't present. I do stand by the fact that Tracy Letts' play is right for this moment. I just wish it had been a lot darker, a lot scarier. It was beautiful, but it should have been much more grimier. And hearkening to Panic in Needle Park or The Pillow Man, you should have scared us with this theater. I should have felt uncomfortable at every turn. I should have had my hands covering my eyes and hiding it. It had that kind of potential so far as a psychological thriller of a play, and I wish it had really gone there.
And we should mention that the lighting design was by Heather Gilbert and the scenic design was by Casey Kata.
I'm giving it a half-day face. Love the play, don't like this execution. So I'm not going away from loving this play. I just hope there's a more terrifying Stephen King execution in the future.
Ed Schmidt's Edward is about a high school English teacher who died and left 27 objects in a box that tell his life story. The audience each gets to choose an object to spark a memory in Ed's life that is told in a random order each time, as every audience will choose in a different manner. Personally, I went for the Hummel figurine, as we had them in our household. It brought back a memory from my own childhood. Ed Schmidt did such a matter-of-fact way of telling the story that I had to come up to him afterwards and ask if that was a real person, because Edward was so real to me. How Edward met and fell in love with his wife, trouble with the children, arguments over the curriculum, world events, and how they affected him. You will get a whole new interpretation of Catcher in the Rye that will blow your mind. This is told in various bookstores in Manhattan and in Brooklyn in the past. As someone who recently lost someone, the mementos of a life and the feelings it evokes after a person dies really hit home. A poignant happy face.
Anthony Logan Cole and Angela Buccini Butch's Cirque Swing is now playing inside the hidden Chelsea Speakeasy, and this is not your typical night at the theater. We were escorted to our seat by Brian Klimowski's delightfully flustered French maitre d' named Mr. D. who promised refinement while barely containing the chaos about to unfold. From that moment on, we were not just watching the show, we were inside it. Brian was the swing in for the usual maitre d', Ambrose Martos, and Brian was excellent. The space is intimate, tables tucked close, low light, no safe distance between you and the spectacle. And yes, the three-course dinner genuinely delivers. This is not dinner as an afterthought. The food confidently holds its own alongside the performance. Musically, the trio secret lays down a smoky jazz foundation while Rory Noji, as Evie the MC, commands the room with effortless control. She moves through jazz standards with warmth and precision, guiding the evening without ever breaking the immersive spell. Then come the Cirque acts. Hand balancing inches from your table, contortion that feels anatomically impossible, bottle walking in heels, archery that makes you instinctively lean back. The danger feels immediate. Well, because it is immediate. What impressed me most was Anthony Logan Cole's direction. Immersive theater can easily tip into chaos, but this never does. Every beat feels deliberate, every transition seamless. Cirque du Swing blends cabaret, circus, comedy, and supper club glamour into something stylish, playful, and genuinely thrilling. I didn't just watch it, I experienced it. Huge happy face.
At the Brick is Jerry Lieblich's Without Mirrors. It is a dense, poetical, and philosophical musings about the root of one's being while in a cave or hollow, isolated space where only clanging can remind you that you still exist. Kate McGee has put together moody, spooky lighting that makes David Greenspan look positively biblical. While this has an air of incomprehensibleness, under David Greenspan's mesmerizing spell, it is enough to have words just wash over me. It is like a foreign opera without subtitles. I might not know what they are saying, but I understand the sense of it that can still give me emotional responses. But I'm still giving it a mixed face plus, and this is strictly for David Greenspan fans, which I am one.
Matthew Libby's Data, currently at the Lucille Lortel Theater through March 29th, is a sleek, unsettling look at what happens when innovation outruns accountability. Set inside a polished Silicon Valley company called Athena Technologies, the play follows Manish, a gifted young programmer who discovers that an algorithm he built is now central to a massive AI surveillance project. What once felt like career momentum suddenly becomes a moral reckoning. Libby's writing is sharp and deceptively casual, steeped in the language of corporate optimism. People joke. They bond over ping pong and office rituals, but underneath the banter is something colder. Compliance is rewarded, resistance is isolating. The ping pong sequences between Karan Burr, who plays Manesh, and Brandon Flynn, who plays Jonah, are especially striking. Entire conversations unfold mid-rally, the ball flying back and forth as tensions build. It's playful on the surface, relentless underneath. The ensemble is uniformly strong. Burr gives Manesh a quiet, grounding moral tension. Flynn's charm slowly reveals anxiety. Sophia Lillis brings urgency to Riley, and Justin H. Min is calmly persuasive as a manager who makes complicity sound reasonable. Director Tyne Raffaelli keeps the pacing tight, and the design is clean and efficient. My one drawback, though, is the lighting. The repeated harsh LED transitions became physically taxing by the end and pulled focus from the story. Still, Data is dark, smart, and unnervingly plausible. It doesn't shout, it applies pressure. My rating for this one is happy face minus, and the minus is only because of that harsh lighting.
Here we are with
Karley Wasaff,
who I had the delight of seeing her wonderful Posh in August with my friend Claudia Terry. It was this cool thing where we were doing something with flowers and saving flowers and getting to have gummies and play all these different games. And how did you come up with this concept? Because also it was about sustainability and environment, and it had some real, important subjects done in a fun way. So how did you come up with this? And what were some of the games again? Because it was in August, but I remember it was so much fun and you had boundaries so that no one felt unsafe. And everyone just was like kids again.
The show is actually called Growing Takes Time. My event partner's name is Porch. And how I came up with it, I started seeing this through line between contemporary dance and jujitsu, and the things that are needed from one person to another in order to grow. Like contemporary partnering requires a lot of weight bearing, and so does jujitsu. And it made me come to this conclusion that we need conflict and resistance in order to grow together. And I've been on this like hook of like, okay, how can I help support this concept of transformative assembly? Like, how can we all continue to be better people together? And that's how I kind of landed on the Growing Takes Time concept. I was playing a video game called Pikmin, where it all just kind of all clicked together, and the idea kind of happened at like one aha moment. And Pikmin is kind of the character embodiment that my performers play with. But I call them pick-me's, like the pick-me woman archetype. So it's like this multi-layered, multifaceted experience that takes you through a lot of isms and then how to work through those isms together, and how that manifests is through those games. So we play with like anxiety-induced childhood games like slap hands, rock, paper, scissors, and then my own like kind of take on the floor is lava, but also like red light, green light, go. That's the one where everybody was picking up the mats and trying to help the pick-me's get across the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. And then the last game is hot potato, where it's kind of like this, the ending of like how we can all find collective joy through this resistance. And so hot potato is the pick-me's they have petals on their privates, and the petals fly off, and you have to help your pick-me get their private parts back. But like it's like hot potato. So and in order to like get through this game, you have to respect the dancers in order to give them their private parts back, and then they get super joyous and excited. So yeah, I think that's a good lowdown.
Absolutely. And so now you've got something else coming up now. So an artist talk or something?
Yes. Yeah. So Growing Takes Time has officially become state funded by NISCA. Yay! So June 20th, we're coming back bigger and better. Instead of 3 pick-me, it's 9 pick-me. And a part of the grant requirements is for me to host an artist talk. So I'll be hosting an artist talk March 12th, where you also will be getting some of those free THC gummies and drinks like you did at the last show. Thank you, TBD Products. They're my sponsor. And this artist talk is going to, for me, it seems more of like a satirical summary of like how my art has dragged me through the dirt. And it kind of discusses how all of my works, all of my pieces, and all of my performances tied together through this concept of like all this conflict, right? All of this drama that it took me through in order for me to learn something and then go on to the next one, which eventually accumulates to Growing Takes Time.
Well, there's certainly a lot of conflict going on in the world right now. So it's like, it's nice to kind of have a way to resolve conflict, since we can't get it in real life, but we can get it in the theater that you create.
That's right. Yay!
So where is this artist talk going to be?
Yeah, so it's at this hotel space called The Rose, and they have this very like interesting, it's actually just a bar, but I find it very interesting because they have a whole wall of digital art screens and a projector wall, and they support a lot of artists in the city. So I felt that it would feel at most home to do this artist talk in a place that didn't feel like too much pressure, like me standing on a stage, and makes it feel like we're all in this together. It feels more community. So that's where it is.
All your different projects are always so much fun, and then you learn new places to go, like this Kingsland Wildflower. Never even heard of it. Now I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Of course, anytime.
Ed Malin reviews The Dinosaurs. These days, solidarity is what's keeping many people sane. What better time to see a play about a women's support group for surviving alcoholism? The characters in The Dinosaurs, written by Jacob Perkins, who is also a therapist, are strong, solid, and happy with the many little moments in life. Time is significant because this is how we track freedom from substance abuse, and some of the members of the group, such as Jolly, played by Kathleen Chalfant, have been coming to meetings for 47 years, while Raina, played by Kaylee McQuail, is still counting weeks of sobriety and, as noted, is not ready to join yet. However, whatever the others may say, Jolly does not feel like a dinosaur. She can still carry a box of donuts at her own pace, joyfully accepting of things being in the right place at the intended time. Director Lee Waters delivers a relaxed atmosphere in which attendees of the meeting take their time coming and going, setting up chairs, pouring coffee, and interrupting each other to exclaim how much they like the crawlers. The group members respond to this behavior with constant validation, active listening, checking everyone's preferred pronouns, ensuring no men are allowed, etc. The women, but have we asked Raina about pronouns yet, occasionally break down into holding diverse opinions. For example, we hear the latest installment of a tale of a young man who was seduced by a female teacher. The group immediately condemns this illegal and immoral act until Jane, played by April Mathis, points out that the young man was 17, and what happened was as such not illegal, and haven't we all been lonely? The others try to shame her with what makes your loneliness unique. And so we hear snippets of personal growth and watch the chairs get put away. In the current world of shunning wrong opinions, it feels good to see people disagreeing with each other and staying in the same room with baked goods. There's also this discomfort that we really need to feel. I hope the play gets a longer life so the people who need to see it can see it. Can we really argue with a diverse, multi-generational cast of women? Just a note, the characters sometimes confuse each other's names, which are Joanne, Joan, Jane, Janet, June, Jolly, and Raina, who eventually tells us an exciting story of how the name came to pass. There's a cyclical nature to these meetings, which almost implies that the women are interchangeable. While some audience members were confused, the safe place mentality and force of the group as a whole seemed to more than compensate. The set is designed by Dot, evoking a classic community center basement with regular, mismatched folding chairs. It felt very much like home, also thanks to Yuki Link's bright lighting design. Costumes by Oana Botez showed proud women in charge of their lives. I give it a happy face.
Unlike The Dinosaurs, which I found very confusing, which is also about alcoholics, only in this case female alcoholics and their support group, there's another play dealing with alcoholism called Jake Brash's The Reservoir at the Atlantic Theater Company, directed by Shelley Butler, with this crackerjack cast of Caroline Aaron, Heidi Armbruster, Peter Maloney, Mary Beth Peel, Matthew Saldivar, Chip Zien, all led by Noah Galvin, who basically speaks to us and tells them how he's this, blackout alcoholic, and his mother, basically says, if you don't, do something about yourself, that's it. I'm tired of this. And how his road to recovery or not recovery or recovery, and also how he deals with all of his grandparents dealing with Alzheimer's, and how he's trying to fix being an alcoholic and blackout memories with Alzheimer's and losing their memory. It's really riveting, really good, really well done, and I just loved it. But I will talk about it more on our next show. But if you had to see a play about alcoholism, I would go more for the Reservoir than for The Dinosaurs. Just to save time, I'm saving my review for Dinosaurs on the Facebook page, and I'll let Ed Malin do the whole thing. But I just had to just pop in there after seeing The Reservoir because they tied in so well.
In Lauren Yee's Mother Russia, it's 1992, and as the new capitalist Russia cobbles itself together out of the husk of the USSR, bumbling Dmitri and Evgeny, two, quote, middle-aged men of 25, try out new ways of life. Dmitri, played by Stephen Boyer, opens a private surveillance operation, and Evgeny, played by Adam Chandler Barat, joins an extortion operation, only to find he's terrible at it. Evgeny comes to Dmitri's store in order to shake him down. They used to be friends, and maybe he'll be able to get something out of his former pal. And he does. Dmitri's spy company has just one client who's hired him to surveil Katya, a former protest pop singer. Back in the USSR, Evgeny was a mega fan of Katya, so he asked for the monitoring job. Pretty soon, he's tracking her down in person, and he thinks, anyway, falling in love. Throughout, Mother Russia, played by David Turner, via direct address quips, offers her perspective on perestroika in a red dress and babushka scarf. Pushkin, Chekhov, the Bolshoi, Tchaikovsky, Soviet kitsch. Russian culture looms large in the American imagination. And less than 40 years ago, its superpower government collapsed before our very eyes. Who wouldn't be captivated? Indeed, ye waste no time in giving us the beloved Chekhov gun. There it is the moment the lights come up. The winks at Chekhov, the drag queen Mother Russia, and Daily Life in St. Petersburg, 1992, make for a clever chime that kept me laughing throughout. Dmitri and Evgeny's first taste of McDonald's is something to witness. And yet I came away from this play feeling like I'd also eaten McDonald's rather than something a little more nutritious. Rebecca Naomi Jones is convincing as Katya, but her storyline is where the play should make a point. Instead, it kicks generalized notions about brutal government over to Mother Russia. Mother Russia's seen it all. It's, quote, one shitty man after another, and the times are not as unprecedented as we think. On one hand, it's true. The Soviet government disappeared over 1 million people. Detention and deportation without due process are happening here, now. But where's the stance on this issue, rather than Mother Russia's wry resignation? Is it really time to look at authoritarianism and economic chaos from a distance, especially in year 4 of Russia's illegal war on Ukraine? The novelty of a new Russian Folgers commercial might tickle us, but it's not enough. Since we're still living in unprecedented times, let's not join Mother Russia in the peanut gallery.
I'd love to join Mother Russia in the peanut gallery embodied by David Turner. She has no illusions and may be quite humorous, but with an edge. And don't forget, this is not 2026, it is 1992. So we have to look at it from 1992's perspective. And I have to say that these are such likable, confused people just trying to survive in a world that makes no sense to them. This is more of an indictment against capitalism than the known evils of Russia. Dmitri just wants to make enough money so he can marry the love of his life. Evgeny wants to make his father proud of him. Katya wants to be an international singer. All seem impossibly out of reach. Stephen Boyer at one point trained to be a KGB agent, but he is more Inspector Clouseau than a cold-blooded agent. Adam Chandler Barrett is such a schlemiel that your heart goes out to him, having this scary dad who he's desperate to impress. And Rebecca Naomi Jones has her chance in America. She did go to America, where she would have been safer, but it is easy to be homesick, no matter how rotten your country is. I fell in love with these people and wanted them all to have a happy ending as well as more happy meals. Happy face.
So I would love to be able to view it from a 1992 lens, but for me, the goings-on of 2026 loom way too large to be able to forget that and view Russia or even capitalism with that kind of lens. So for me, the piling on the charm of Russia makes this a very Russian play. Although, of course, as Americans, I think we can absolutely identify with these characters. So for me, it was so charming and so fun, and I did laugh a lot, but I could not shake the idea of this is not the type of attitude I can get behind in 2026. Mixed face plus.
Theodoros Skipateris' latest puppet show at La Mama is Footnotes, which blends Greek mythology, religious zealots, archaeological finds, philosophers, animals, delivery drivers, and much more, all connected to walking or feet or movement. With giant puppets of heads, realistic humans, ostrich, kangaroo, and octopus, giant foot, computer images, and other fun surprises, we go back and forth walking as a story emerges on what footsteps can achieve from walking on a pilgrimage to walking out to sea. How measurements were finally derived by a king's foot. How an octopus walks I found fascinating, and how Thoreau could only write while walking. Like he said, when my legs begin to move, my thoughts begin to flow. In a Theodore Skipetera show, you not only get intricate puppets, but incredible historical facts. I am giving this a happy face plus because you will not be walking out of a Theodore Skipetera show. Our next show is March 21st. Jim Dale, An Actor's Nightmare, will be March 8th and 9th at the Episcopal Actors Guild, and the Vineyard Gala is honoring Judy Kuhn and David Berlin on Monday, March 9th at the Edison Ballroom. There'll be a Dear World lecture by Mel Miller from Musicals Tonight on March 9th at 4 o'clock at the St. Agnes Library, and he's been giving all sorts of lectures there, so you can check that out. Prospect Theater Company's Ignite Theater on March 7th is After Anatevka with Alexandra Silber, and March 10th, An Evening with Alex Timbers, and more until March 30th at Baruch Performing Arts Center. New York Irish Center's 5th annual 40 Shades of Green St. Patrick's Day Marathon goes on March 17th from 3 to 9 p.m. Closing March 8th is the Porch on Windy Hill back at Urban Stages that both Stephen and I just loved, and the Waterfall, the WP Theater. Closing March 15th, I Came Back for Molly, written and performed by Molly Carden at Theater Row, Trash at Pack, and No Excuses, No Limits at the New Victory. And starting March 18th is Michael John LaCusa's The Wild Party for Encores. Oh, I just can't wait. And Parallel Exit, Mark Lonergan, Sunset Circus, Sunday, March 22nd at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the Marlene Mayerson JCC. Closing March 22nd is the Reservoir, which I talked about briefly at Atlantic Theater Company, Marcel on the Train at Classic Stage Company, The Monsters at Manhattan Theater Company, and Spread at Intar. And don't forget to check out our favorites because there's a lot of stuff going on there that's really remarkable. We have 54 Below, 92 NY, Here, Soho Playhouse, Theater for the New City, La Mama, Joe's Pub, and The Tank. Yes, there's a lot of theater, and this is just a smattering. So go enjoy yourself.